Hello!
Hey.
Hi.
We are driving to see Avengers.
I'm Save Point, I'm Chris.
Oh, shoot, yeah. Welcome to Save Point. I'm Sam. This is Chris.
Good Lord, it's like you've never done this before.
Well, we haven't done it in about a month and a half, probably.
Yeah.
Something like that. At least a month.
It's like riding a bike. Sometimes you forget.
And you fall off your bike.
I think it's how the saying goes. It's like, I think Lance Armstrong probably forgotten at this point. Isn't he banned from riding bikes in general?
Pretty much.
Isn't that how that works?
Oh, yeah, wasn't he riding?
Yeah, there's like a lifetime ban from touching bicycles.
Like with like what, his one testicle?
Gee. Alrighty. Nothing to do with the Avengers. All right, welcome to our Avengers cast.
Yay, we're currently on the road.
It's true. We are. Well, we're not on the road. We're in a car that is on the road. I am not touching
Therefore,
the road
we're
currently.
on the road. Look, if you put the hammer in an elevator, it still goes up. That's an Age of Ultron reference for you. You're welcome. We're on our way to go see Infinity War right now, and I'm losing my mind. I'm so excited.
All right. Also, that's Brittany. For those of you who have not met Brittany,
Hi guys.
Miss Fiancée.
it is his fiance, not mine. I don't have one of those.
Fiancée.
Alrighty. So, crew. I have a couple questions that I need us to answer before we get there.
Hurry.
Oh, also, real quick, format for this video is gonna be we're gonna film this right now, and then we're gonna watch the movie, and then after the movie, we're gonna give our spoiler-free first reactions of just like
5 minutes.
thoughts on the movie, and then we're gonna spoil everything. So watch up if you haven't seen it when this video comes out.
Okay,
Watch
we're
everything.
almost at the parking lot. So what are your questions?
Well, we can still talk on the way in too.
Oh, okay.
It's professional YouTuber life, dude.
Define professional.
We do this.
Consummate professionals.
Yes. So question number 1: who's going to die?
Captain America.
Brittany?
Loki.
Ooh, I have not heard that one yet.
Oh, actually, it's a legitimate theory. Have you not heard this?
No.
Yeah. People surmise there's a scene that we see in the trailers of Loki around Thanos' Black Order, and there's another scene where we see Thanos holding Thor's head, and he's like screaming, and a lot of people theorize that Thanos is making Thor watch the Black Order kill Loki. So I can see it. I think Captain America is going to eat it in this movie, though. It's going to be Cap or Iron Man, I think.
My bet is Iron Man. My money's on Iron Man.
I can see Iron Man. I'll be sad if it's Iron Man.
All right. Next question is, what will Thanos be doing when the movie ends?
Who?
Snapping.
That's the snap, yeah. The famous scene from the Infinity Gauntlet comic book.
Heyo.
Nerd.
Yeah.
All right. So will Thanos still be alive at the end of this?
Yes. There's a second movie.
Well, it couldn't be Thanos' brother Steve.
Steve-os.
Stevis.
Yeah, Thanos will be alive. They're not going to kill him in the first one.
All right. Way too early ranking on your list of Marvel movies.
Number 2.
Brittany, way too early on your list of Marvel movies.
3.
3? For me, it's like 5. 4.
And look, it's going to be hard. It's for me personally, and I'm turning the car off now, so the lights are going to go out. For me personally, it's going to be hard to dethrone Spider-Man.
Well, you heard it here first. Hard to dethrone Spider-Man. We will see you again after the movie. Hello, I'm still Sam.
Hey, this is still Chris, I think.
We just finished Infinity War. Real quick before we get into spoilers, because it'll be mostly spoilers, my immediate thought is if you don't really care about the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all, if you never really care about the movies, never really enjoyed the movies, then to be honest, this is probably not a movie for you.
Look, this is something I keep saying. Everyone's like, oh, it's just like a comic book movie. We've been doing this for 10 years. If you're not in comic book movies, I think it should be implied at this point you're probably not going to enjoy this movie.
Yes.
That being said, if we're just doing like non-spoiler, like initial reactions here real fast, I wasn't ready for Infinity War, and neither are you.
Yeah.
Now, leave, go watch it, pause this.
Yep.
Come back. I'll give you a second.
Check my phone. Oh, I think they're done.
All right, welcome back.
Oh, welcome back.
We
Yes.
appreciate that.
Glad to have you.
Holy hell.
Yeah. That was a film. That was a film that we just watched.
I'm having a hard time processing. And now here's the thing. It's a Marvel movie. The good guys are going to win eventually.
Yeah, but everybody's dead.
I mean, Doctor Strange, before dying, literally said, he's like, now we're in the end game. He knows that they're on the path to winning. And I feel like they've killed enough characters to show that it'll probably end up getting undone in the second one. They can't.
That's the thing. If they had killed like a few less, if it had just been like Doctor Strange and like Spider-Man, like Bucky, I would have been like, you know what? They're probably dead.
It's
dead.
half the universe, though. I mean, it makes sense that also half of the superheroes also gone.
Well, plus Black Panther 2 has already been confirmed, and he died, so he literally has to come back.
Spider-Man 2 is also confirmed
Yeah.
as well. I mean,
So they literally have to come back.
that being said, I knew that as this was happening. I was like, Spider-Man has another movie. They're not going to kill him in here. And then as he faded away, I was like, he has another movie. He has to come back. I still teared up during that. Even having that knowledge did not take away the emotional impact of that scene.
Yeah.
That was unbelievably well done.
His was the hardest death, like by a mile.
Him
His was
holding
the
Iron Man
hardest
and
death.
begging not to die. And then when he's on the ground and you see it in his face when he accepts it. I was just, that crutch. Spider-Man, for those at home that might know, Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. And that crushed me. Like, I think the Tom Holland Spider-Man is the best on-screen Spider-Man that we've ever had.
I would argue with that, but I don't know if they're arguing with that tonight.
Who, Andrew Garfield?
No. Listen.
Tobey Maguire.
Listen, Tobey Maguire. It's my childhood.
You haven't seen Homecoming yet?
I have not seen Homecoming.
You won't say that after you see Homecoming.
I know. All right. Anyway, I don't want to argue about that on the Avengers cast.
All right, so give me some either like favorite scenes or scenes that stood out to you.
Yeah, the Wakanda fight. Listen, when it started, my first thought was, this is just Helm's Deep.
I got Helm's Deep vibes from it.
And
too,
my second thought was, oh great, another just like battle against these CG enemies that don't mean anything because they don't want to have real bloodshed. And then the second that fight actually started, like that's during all of the build-up, right?
The
second it started, I was like, oh no, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Even before they started like fighting, when they opened the gate and all the Wakandas and heroes go charging down the hill, and in front of everybody is Black Panther and Captain America. I was like, oh, this is about to be real good. I was like a 10-year-old child there for a second. Like that was like this is superheroes like down to a T.
My 23 years of cynicism just faded away in that moment, and I was an 8-year-old kid just like reading comic books. Like
honestly, the sort of, I mean, getting over the scene of literally watching like all of my favorite superheroes die, Bucky, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, all gone. Thank God Cap and Iron Man are still there.
Nick Fury.
In the post-credit scene, Nick Fury dies.
The Shield lady, who I just
Robin.
don't give two craps about.
Robin from
It's
How I Met
literally
Your Mother.
It's literally Robin from How I Met Your Mother.
Which is hilarious because she's in like a couple of the other movies.
What?
But that's still
Who else died? Real quick, I'm trying to remember because I know a couple other people died.
Black Panther.
Yeah, that one I was kind of surprised. I thought he'd be in the next movie.
I thought it was going to be Okoye who was going to go because they're
then
focusing on
Okoye
her.
doesn't die.
And what's crazy is he's not in the center. They did an amazing thing where he's not in the center of the frame when he dies. Like that was such a cool idea. So they expect you to have her die. Who else died? It was a lot. I can't even.
Yeah, so many people died.
Almost all of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, literally all of them except for Rocket and
Nebula.
Yeah,
All of them are gone. Dude. When Star-Lord meets Thor at the beginning of the movie was one of the best scenes in that whole thing. It's like, no, this is my voice.
when he's copying the Thor voice, that whole bit was so funny.
That whole thing was fantastic, and I like that. Despite the fact that the Russo brothers did not direct Ragnarok, although I imagine they were probably pretty heavily involved in Phase 3 because they had to
hands
push
all
towards
over it.
Infinity War. I like that. There were scenes where I was like, this is still like the Ragnarok Thor. Like I was afraid that they were going to go like super serious with him, and I'm glad they didn't. Like I said, getting past watching all of my favorite superheroes die, emotional impact, or like the way that I come walking out of this movie, like processing it, is, I mean, they did the same thing with all of these superheroes that they did with the first Avengers, that I really liked, where they'd established all of the characters in their previous movies, and then they took all of their powers and abilities and cranked them to 11 for this one.
Unreal.
The first time that Thor comes to Wakanda and jumps in the air with the axe and comes back down, that was awesome. That was comic book Thor.
The Thor stuff was awesome. Everything with Doctor Strange was awesome.
Doctor Strange was so cool. Which, I mean, you got to see hints of him like knowing his stuff better in Ragnarok. And I know you haven't seen Doctor Strange, the movie Doctor Strange, yet, but he's still a beginner throughout most of that movie. Oh, really, the entire movie. He outsmarts Dormammu rather than killing him, which I really liked. It wasn't a fight. It was he planned it. To really see Doctor Strange's potential in this movie, I was really, really happy for, because in the comics he is far and away one of the most powerful,
probably the most powerful
in the
Avenger.
Marvel universe.
Probably the most powerful Avenger for sure.
He's up there. You still have people like what's his name? Not Nova. Adam Warlock, who I'm about to spoil a like 40-year-old comic book for you at this point, but Adam Warlock is the one that defeats Thanos in the comics. And according to the post-credits scene of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we know that Adam Warlock is coming. I assumed that he had the Soul Stone. I thought Adam was going to be in this movie.
Yeah, I was surprised he was not actually.
I also thought the Soul Stone was in Wakanda. I thought for sure.
Well,
Soul Stone was
we
in
both
Wakanda.
said that. I think on a podcast actually leading to Black Panther, that we thought that we are going to see the Soul Stone in Wakanda.
I watched that movie demolish like every theory I had about it, except for the fact that Loki dies.
Yeah, the Loki dying,
which also hurt. I loved Loki.
What hurt, the two things that were the Loki death, and I thought Iron Man was going to die when he stabbed him, and that just hit me like a truck.
And yeah, I mean, watching the god of the MCU dying, which I just seen a Reddit post like talk about that, where it was like he is basically like the king of, he's the Kanye West of the MCU, to the point where it's like Thanos knew who he was. He's like, yeah, I know. I was like, I've heard of you. That's why, especially when you have people like Doctor Strange, or I guess Captain Marvel probably already has her powers at this point, where it's like Thanos fights all of these people, and it's Stark. He's like, I know who you are. That's cool.
And I even, my thought just left. I had a thought there for a second. Well, no, it's funny, because if you look back at like Iron Man 2, right? Mm-hmm. He's just fighting like Danny Trejo, who he's using like electronic, or whatever that guy's name is. Danny Trejo.
It's definitely not Danny Trejo.
What's the guy?
Danny Trejo is he's Hispanic.
I thought that was who played the villain in Iron Man.
No,
I've only seen Iron Man 2
Danny,
once, and that was like a long
Trejo.
time ago.
It's definitely not Danny
Anyway,
Trejo.
he goes from fighting the freaking dude with like electronic whips,
Whiplash,
on like a race course. I remember the fight on like the racetrack where he like pulled the suit out of like a briefcase, right?
I liked Iron Man 2 a lot.
He goes from that fight to fighting like this god with like
literal god.
Yes, like it's so wild to see like the power creep throughout the MCU,
which makes sense.
Which is normal. I mean, it's a comic book thing. It's an anime thing. It's a video game thing.
It also makes sense. I mean, in the comics as well. I mean, I was worried that they weren't going to make Thanos as strong as he was in the comics. Like this, according to them, like this movie should have been the heroes trying and just failing to defeat Thanos, and that's what this movie was.
A lot of failure.
Mickey Rourke plays Whiplash.
Was Danny Trejo, was he in a Marvel movie?
Not to my knowledge.
He should be.
Danny Trejo's great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he should definitely be in a Marvel movie. He's Machete. Machete, the Lost Avenger.
Machete.
What if he is the one who actually defeats Thanos in the next movie?
I just walk out of the theater again.
Still won't be worth what they did to the Mandarin, so.
First half of Iron Man 3 is so good. Where was I going with that? I had a point. My initial impressions of, I mean, I'm going to have to put this in my top 5. And I imagine I'll probably knock this one out for part 2 whenever that comes along next year. but I can't not. I was blown away by that.
It just leaves me with so many questions. It is probably still in my top 5.
Which is the point.
It's the hard part of
It's
a
a part
part
one.
one. A part one is so hard to judge on its own merits because it doesn't have them.
But it's also so unique in that it doesn't try to stand alone on its own.
No, 100%.
You go into that
its own movie.
You go into that, and it expects you to know who everybody is and what they've gone through, which that's awesome. I love that.
Well, stuff like we were like on the drive back. Chris goes, Hawkman wasn't in one where Hawkman was. Hawkeye, whatever. Hawkman is DC.
Sure is.
And I go, oh, they mentioned him. They said Clint's back home with his family. It's offhanded comment, right?
Yeah.
There is no exposition in this movie besides like Thanos stuff. There is no exposition of anything we already knew.
I think it should have been though.
That is a good thing. That is
with
definitely
the amount
a
of
good
people
thing
in this movie
did.
though. It had to do that.
But it's like offhanded comments like, oh, Clint's back home with his family, where it's like,
what's funny thinking about it too, they did that kind of with the original Avengers too. Like there's this scene where Thor is talking to Coulson about Jane Foster, and there's just like her picture on a screen or whatever. It's like, don't worry, we hit her. She'll be safe. And it was like, that's it. That's where Jane is. And they go, okay, cool.
yeah.
Perfect. So that way, it's such a good way of just being able to like put that to the side. Like this character, not important right now. Focus on these ones. And outside of that, we got to see some very, very cool action parts. Wow. I knew that the movie was going to be really CG heavy, and that always makes me nervous. But
Yeah, a lot of CG.
There wasn't anything that stuck out to me.
No, there was one that was so bad. Tom and I were dying. Our friend Tom went with us.
Yeah.
We were dying. It was when it completely took me out of the moment. When, after everyone's dead, when Captain is realizing what's happened, right? And all the characters are kind of gathered behind him. Bruce in the Hulkbuster looks so awful. It looks green screened in like nothing I've ever seen.
I mean, it was.
And it's bad. Like, literally, Tom and I both like looked at each other at the same time. It's like, oh, gosh. It completely ruined that scene for me.
Is it as bad as the green screen Norway and Thor Ragnarok?
It might be.
Because that was bad.
Like, legitimately, all of my emotional investment was lost
I'd have to...
in that moment.
And I
because of
mean,
that.
I'd say I have to disagree. I didn't notice. I didn't see him there.
2 out of 3 of us did, though.
2 out of 4 of us did.
I don't know if Brittany did. She's not here to
Brittany
defend
didn't.
herself. You don't know that. Did you ask her if she noticed the
You want me to
Hulkbuster in
text
that
her?
scene? She probably didn't.
She probably didn't.
But Brittany was more emotionally invested than any of us. Brittany was a wreck.
Dude, I was hurting on the inside, man.
But yeah, it's not bad.
Brittany's vocal in movies.
In a movie where the rest of the CG was fantastic, that was the one that stood out to me. I was like, oh.
And we'll take those, you know?
When you go back and rewatch it, watch for that because you'll notice it.
I don't want to. I don't want to ruin it.
It's really bad.
Yeah, I think my final verdict was I wasn't ready for Infinity War. It's like, I feel like I'm still getting over it. And there's still that, I understand how it's going to end. Or at least I think I do. I thought I knew what was going to happen in this movie. The Russos could very well take part 2 and be like, yeah, they'll win, but not the way you think they will.
The worry for me is who comes back.
I don't know.
Right? Because I think it's without question that Black Panther and Spider-Man come back because they have more. Like those are.
They're absolutely going
Disney won't let them die because those are their franchises of the future.
But I'm worried. Like, is Bucky going to come back?
I don't really care about Bucky.
Oh.
Like hot take. I have never cared about Bucky.
Oh, I like Bucky a lot.
I don't dislike him. I just don't care. Like he can die.
I like the Winter Soldier a lot. But that's also something that these movies did, is they made me care about Captain America, and I never did before the MCU.
I always thought his shield was cool.
I'm sad we didn't see his shield in this movie.
He has his shield's lame. I don't like the arm shield that he has. It's not round.
I didn't like the design of him, but then watching him fight with them and using them also as like
Fighting with
boxing
him was
gloves,
cool.
I was like, damn, that was cool.
That was
Like, really well choreographed action.
While watching this movie, I realized that the MCU has done something that I didn't think it would. That most people didn't. Is make me care a lot about Iron Man to the point that out of every character in that movie, he is the one that I am most invested in, like having a happy ending. Like,
But
I just
he's
want him
also-
to marry Pepper and like go off and like not deal with any of this crap anymore.
Wong's invited to his.
I know. When he invited Wong to the wedding, I was dying. But he's the character that after 10 years of films,
Well, that's what
he's
I'm
the
saying.
one I'm most
He's-
invested in.
He's also had the most character development out of anybody else in that series.
Probably.
It's been undoubtedly
Him and then I guess Cap second.
Cap to a lesser extent. I'd say Thor probably next.
True. I just like kind of forget that he has solo films because 2 of them are bad.
One of them is bad. The other's mediocre.
Ragnarok though. Loki might have the most character development.
He's dead now.
From start to death. I
He's
guess.
dead now, and I don't know if we're getting him back.
I don't think we're getting Loki back. But if anyone would come back, it'd be Loki, the god of mischief. I could see him coming back. I guess.
I mean,
But I'm not-
he already did it once.
I don't think he will come
I
back.
don't think he
I
will.
think he's dead.
I think that would cheapen his death.
I mean, I saw,
That
like,
being said,
blood
if
running
they
out of
brought
his
him back,
eyes.
I'd be like, yay, Loki's back.
He's so great in Ragnarok.
He's fantastic. And they could potentially take Loki and do what they did to Iron Man and like having him die and I just kind of have to deal with the fact that he was like, I didn't.
But
I had to go
think
through all
about this.
that.
Think about this. For character development, Loki of all characters, straight up tries to kill Thanos, knowing that if he fails, he will die.
Yeah.
That is not Loki. That's incredible.
No, well, I mean, he got his redemption story in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
We got to see it, and I mean, you start to see bits and pieces of it in Dark World, and it cements itself in Ragnarok, and that was really cool. And so, I mean, it's like Ragnarok was kind of the death toll for Loki, though. Like once he'd like sort of finished his character, they immediately get rid of him. He dies in the first like 5 minutes of the movie.
Literally, like about 5 minutes. He dies.
Going back to character development, I think Iron Man undoubtedly has the biggest character arc out of anybody else in the MCU.
For sure. He's in almost every movie.
But I'd also argue that he's the focal point of the MCU. He's literally why it started, and he's always at the center of just about everything, as it should be.
How many movies? Like how many
He's
movies is he
in-
not in?
I don't know. There's 18 movies, 19 now, and he's in Iron Man 1, 2, 3, Avengers 1, 2, 3, Spider-Man. That might be it. I don't think he's in any of the other ones.
That's what.
He's got a cameo on Hulk, if you want to count that.
We'll count that.
All
It's
right.
about 8.
I mean, it's a post-credit cameo too.
Is he in Ragnarok at all?
No. So 8 out of 10, or 8 out of 18, 19.
What? Okay, what else is he not in? I think he was in more than that.
Any of those movies. Anything that's not Iron Man or Avengers or
True.
Spider-Man.
Still though, he's in it a lot.
He's in a lot of it. But I mean, the fact that he goes from extremely self-centered to having to deal with he thought he was going to die, and then having to deal with his own mortality, and then the one thing my favorite thing about his character that they've played on so hard, and this was I think one of my favorite scenes, is like after Spider-Man dies and he's looking around and seeing everyone dies, is like that's his nightmare from like 10 movies back come to life. That's literally the vision that he had in Age of Ultron. That was his greatest fear happening before his eyes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see it all there in him. Robert Downey Jr. plays it so well that I was just like, this is exactly everything he was afraid of.
That bit was great. Yeah, I think it's just the movie itself, kind of from start to finish.
It stars and does not let up.
I was like, it does almost like the Mad Max thing, where like it doesn't let you breathe.
It doesn't let up.
It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I'm not. It's very
it
much
does
so.
not let up. That movie holds nothing back.
I feel like though, my biggest gripe with it, and it's understandable because it is a part one, is that it just kind of feels like nothing really everything happens, but yet nothing happens.
It's the Empire Strikes Back feeling. You know there's more.
But like Empire, I can watch Empire on its own. Maybe because I've watched Empire probably like 30, 40 times in my lifetime, that I can watch Empire on its own and just like enjoy it as its own thing. Like
I'll probably be able to do the same thing with
20 years from now, like will I want to sit down and just watch Infinity War? Like
might.
probably not.
I probably will. That's how I am.
because I'll probably want to watch like Civil War and maybe Ragnarok first, then watch Infinity War, and then watch the next one.
Sounds like a good time.
But like I can at any point in time just sit down and watch Empire and like not need to
I can,
watch.
but that's out of a strict love specifically for the movie itself. But I'd also say that my love for the movie itself also comes from it being placed where it is and the events that also surround like before and after the movie.
Well, and also Empire Strikes Back is just on its own an absolutely incredible movie
Sure,
from start to finish.
It wouldn't have been as good as it was without A New Hope.
Well, yes, because you wouldn't know who anyone is.
Exactly. I'll be able to watch Infinity War and be fine.
I don't know. I like it, and I don't know if I'll see it again in theaters, mostly because I'm a broke boy.
I'm probably gonna go to Levels on Sunday and see it again.
But I need to see it again.
I have to.
Similar to how I felt after Black Panther.
I have to because I need to process. I never did see Black Panther again, and I'm
Neither
sad.
did I. It's a movie that I wanted to see again, just to like just to wrap everything. I don't know. I guess my closing thoughts on it is: if you're still watching this and you haven't seen it, what is wrong with you? I'm sorry for everything was ruined for you.
We just gave away like everything. We actually didn't though. There's so much in that movie. Holy cow!
I guess my closing thoughts though, for those of you who have seen
Is
it,
Gamora gonna come back?
I
They must
hope,
kill
I hope she.
Gamora.
I hope she does. She probably won't though. My closing thoughts are more or less. TBD, right? It is a good movie. It's an enjoyable movie. It's a wild romp. It is. I was thinking about it. Captain America was like the first date that like the girl that I dated in high school, and I like went. I was like to go see Captain America, and literally kind of sitting there. I was like, this feels like a culmination of something that started for me when I was like in like middle school, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't really a culmination. I think I'll get that in a year. It was the start of the end.
This is I was gonna say this is beginning. I mean, it's the beginning of the end. Really, is where it's at. Now. Granted, I'm sure they'll still have movies past Infinity War 2.
Yeah,
Whatever they
it's
decide.
too much of a cash cow.
Whatever they decide to call it, Infinity Gauntlet, I assume.
So where I would rank it, my final thought, where I would rank it, having not seen Homecoming, which Homecoming will probably be my top 1 or 2. Having not seen Homecoming, it is top 5 for sure, but it's probably around that 4 or 5 spot.
I need to see it again.
I don't put it. My immediate reaction is I don't put it above Ragnarok, Civil War, or Guardians. That's my immediate.
I'll put it over Guardians, but Guardians isn't in my top 5.
I love Guardians.
I do too. Not in my top 5. Guardians 1 is probably number 6 for me. I need to see it again. Closing thoughts for me though is it's everything I wanted out of it. I mean, I grew up a Marvel fan. 2008, I was in my sophomore year of high school, and comic movies were still bad. You know, I mean, you basically had Spider-Man, and even then, in like 2007, Spider-Man 3 came out, and it was like, oh, when Spider-Man 3 came out, the sort of general reaction was, oh, good, comic movies are back to being bad. So Iron Man came out, and it was like, that was the best superhero movie I've ever seen. And then to have them tease S.H.I.E.L.D. at the end of it, like even just the idea of an Avengers movie was outstanding. And I still remember my feeling walking out of that Avengers movie theater for the first time, and I was like, I can't believe that this happened. Like, this is outstanding. I never thought I'd see that. And that's how I feel now. Even though the story is still incomplete, walking out of that, I was like, never in my life did I think that I would be able to see all of these heroes from my childhood across my entire life together on screen like that. The fact that this movie happened still blows my mind. And the fact that they executed it so well also blows my mind. So before I put it anywhere, I'm going to have to see it a couple more times.
Yeah, for
just
sure.
because that's how
For
I
sure.
am. But it's an undoubtable top 5.
One thing I'll throw out there.
The thing is they're all getting so different that I like all of them for different reasons, and I have to decide which reasons I kind of like better. So I don't think I'd put it over Homecoming or Ragnarok. I might put it over Civil War.
You know what I would throw out there as the thing that could have put this over the top?
Spider-Man Lives.
Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. The X-Men as a whole.
They don't own the rights to the X-Men yet.
The noticeable absence of the X-Men from the MCU, I felt it more in this movie than ever before.
I couldn't disagree more.
It just feels like a hole.
Especially since they're not that important in the Infinity Gauntlet comics.
Have you not read the Infinity Gauntlet comics? But it's just like, to me, it's like you're missing part of like what is Marvel to me.
They're almost not involved.
I was more of an X-Men than an Avengers guy. Like, I was never.
Everyone was in the
I'm
90s.
I'm a DC guy, as you know.
Everyone was in the 90s.
For me, I was more of an X-Men guy than an Avengers guy. So I've always missed
in the
them
90s. The only good
MCU.
comics were X-Men and Spider-Man. Like, the MCU made characters that people didn't like. Thor, Captain America, and maybe less on Thor, but Captain America and Iron Man, and then turn them into the figureheads of these movies. Like, that's amazing.
And people like still like, as somebody like, I kind of went back and read some of it. I still don't love Captain America and Iron Man comics, like pre MCU. I don't dislike them.
They're whatever. I mean, Iron Man got really good post MCU. I haven't read enough Captain America to give a decision on that. I don't think these movies need the X-Men yet. I know that Disney's working on getting, like, solidifying that, and I imagine we'll probably see that within the next year or two. I would also imagine that, however the Infinity War storyline wraps up, because they're going to do more after this. They're not going to let Marvel die, but I don't think it's going to continue with the same heroes that we have now.
I think you'll keep Spider-Man and Black Panther.
Yes,
but the old guard is done. I think the old guard is done.
I agree. I think the Infinity War storyline is where those stories.
Cap, Thor, Iron Man are done.
Yeah, I think so. Which is a real shame because Thor's turned so cool.
He suddenly became awesome.
Well, he was really cool in the first Avengers too, and that was the thing. And
but I think
then Dark World came out.
But I know Hemsworth and Downey went out of their roles. I think.
No,
Evans and Downey went out of the roles.
Hemsworth and Evans, yeah.
I don't know if Hemsworth went out of the role yet.
I don't know if Hemsworth wants out yet. I know Evans definitely does.
Oh, Evans and then RDJ has said for a while now that he wants out.
He said that he started saying that before Iron Man 3 and then keeps making more movies. I think they're going to do with Iron Man what they did for him in Homecoming, to where he'll still appear in movies but have side parts. Which also makes sense to me in the Avengers comics. He kind of leaves the Avengers themselves and moves on to like bigger things. Starts working with like Doctor Strange.
Well, a thought that I had, that as far as how do they work the X-Men in, right? How do you, if they want to make the X-Men part of their MCU, how do they work them in? Here's a thought.
They build up to the Avengers versus X-Men storyline.
Well, I
think that's the way they're going to go.
Or here's a thought. In order to introduce them, because at some point in time, wouldn't mutants have come up at all during the MCU? So
it could be a fallout of the Infinity War.
How do you explain that? Make it like Flashpoint. So what Flashpoint does, if you don't know DC, what Flashpoint does for DC is basically, it was how they retconned all of the crap that had become the general like backlog of DC.
And you either love or hate Flashpoint.
Garbage. I love Flashpoint itself. I don't love what came from Flashpoint.
Yeah, I think that's how I feel about it.
It's how they can retcon the X-Men in. Do it like Flashpoint. Just basically, the universe gets altered and these little minor things are different, and now we have mutants.
They do have a time stone.
Like that to me is an easy way to throw the X-Men.
Yeah, I think it could absolutely be a fallout of the Infinity War storyline, and it would also be a fantastic excuse to recast all of the roles.
And recast the X-Men. Because you mean, obviously...
That's what I meant.
The X-Men, yeah, for sure we're going to need a whole new X-Men cast.
It's that's what I'm saying, is like, that way you're not looking at the Marvel movies and be like, are these still connected to the old X-Men movies? Like, it would be an easy way to make it a clean break and have different characters.
Is there a more iconic person in a role as a superhero than Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? Because I don't think there is.
Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Hugh Jackman's been in more films.
No, he hasn't. More X-Men films?
Total, yes. Because when it came out, I believe it's either 8 or 9.
There's three X-Men. You've got The Wolverine, Last Stand, and Logan. Those are the X-Men movies.
You just skipped a bunch of movies he's also in.
Those are the X-Men movies.
He's also in... Wait, hold up. 3 X-Men movies. Yes. Wolverine Origins.
Yeah.
The Wolverine.
Said that.
No, you skipped one of those.
No, I said The Wolverine and Origins.
Then you have him in...
Logan,
Days of Future Past, and First Class.
Oh, God, they're so forgettable.
What? I thoroughly enjoyed both of those movies.
Oh, he had a cameo in Apocalypse, too, I believe.
Yeah.
So 9. So he's been in the same as Robert Downey Jr.
We remember he was only an 8 out of 18.
We didn't count Infinity War. I
You
counted
didn't
all.
count
I counted all of the other ones.
Hey, you counted 3 Avengers, 3 Iron Mans.
Is this the third Avengers?
Yeah.
All right, one more. One of them was a cameo, and technically in First Class he's also a cameo.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, Robert Downey Jr.
For me, it's Hugh Jackman as well. But those are the two most, at least.
Oh yeah.
Right? Seeing somebody not Hugh Jackman be Wolverine, I
don't think they're gonna cast Wolverine, and I don't think they're gonna have Wolverine in the X-Men movies.
don't know if you can.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. He's so perfect for
That's
that
why
role.
you don't do it. Just avoid it.
We should watch Logan again sometime soon. I was Logan in a
It's right
while.
over there.
I know. We both own it. We both bought it on Black Friday independently of each other.
Brittany has my copy.
So I guess those are our final thoughts. Yeah, anything
It's
else
really
you want
good.
to throw in?
It's really good.
It is really good. But I'm not selling you, because hopefully you've watched it if you're still watching it at this point.
Yeah, we shouldn't.
Sorry, we're ruining the whole movie.
It's a spoiler cast review, so I mean, it's really good, and I liked it a lot.
Yep.
I liked it a whole lot. I'm going to see it again.
We'll
this
probably
weekend.
talk about it again once we've both seen it again. I'd love to, like, not for a whole
Follow up.
podcast, but for a bit on a podcast at some point in
Yeah.
time. I'd love to.
On that note, we're back to recording things.
Yep. That's literally right now.
What we're doing though is we're off the schedule. We found that it was not doing us really any favors creatively, and they were starting to stress us out, and we weren't happy with the stuff we were putting out. So we took a bit of a break. Here we are now, and so we're gonna continue working on some stuff, but we're taking what I've been calling the JonTron plan, to where we'll make the things that we want to make, and it'll come out at some point. And,
True.
And that's really where it's at. So I understand that, not being on a regular schedule, if you decide, hey, maybe I don't want to give money to that, it's fine. However, if you do still feel like donating to our Patreon, shout outs to Jeff, you're the man.
Still down there. I played Street Fighter with Jeff yesterday for like an hour.
I got to talk to Jeff yesterday. What a cool dude.
Yeah, Jeff's a really cool guy.
So I mean, we're still doing those things, and I'd argue that we're coming back and better than ever.
Yeah.
I've got some really cool stuff that I want to do. I'm the thing that I've been pitching to Sam is from the far left of anything that we've made so far.
Yeah. It's the original idea of Save Point.
Mm-hmm.
If we're thinking of the same thing.
Which I'm sure if you dig through all of our podcasts,
We talk about it on at least one.
I know we
some
mentioned
point.
it before, but I'll just leave that as a.
So listen,
as a-
your
as a-
homework
that's
is
your cool little
your
Marvel,
homework
that's
is
your
to go
cool
through,
little Marvel Easter egg for you.
go back and watch
Welcome.
all of our podcasts, and then figure out what we're talking about.
And then all of our gameplay videos too, because a few of those need view boosts. Thank you very much for watching. We love you.
I've been Sam.
I'm Chris.
And Avengers Unassembled.
I wasn't ready. Disassembled.
Unassemble. It's definitely disassembled, but whatever.
Dude, Disassembled was a comic storyline.
My back.
I've got a couple issues of the Spider-Man run of the Avengers Disassembled storyline.